Welcome to Playful Podcast, your guide into the underground scene where we discover topics on kink and electronic music every week. Don't forget to subscribe to not miss out on our next episode. We're excited to be here today with Quincy, better known as Q or Mr. Mind Fetish. Q is a dom living in a dom-sub relationship and having 2 other subs together with his husband. In this conversation, we speak about how Q got into the whole world of role play, sub and dom games, chastity play, and how they suddenly got 2 other subs joining their relationship, and so much more. I am Amanda, and this is Playful Podcast. Cheers!
Okay. Cheers!
It's even rosé.
Yeah, rosé. It's my favorite.
It's so good.
Yeah, I tend to drink champagne more than. Yeah, but I hope you more than I should.
So lush.
Yeah, well, so so lush. Not always, but it lately.
Yeah.
I used to be like a hard alcohol, like vodka.
Did you step
tequila.
Step up in life?
Because of the champagne?
Yeah.
No. I think I was always there, but I just, maybe so.
You have been a lush,
Exactly. I've always been a little bit extravagant, I think, in that respect. So I think this kind of just goes with, and then it's kind of fun because you go to a bar and I'm like, yeah, I like a glass of champagne. And people are like, what?
Especially in Texas, no?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Texas is beer and
Tacos.
beer. And we're close to tacos.
Yeah, I've never been. I really want to go. But
You should. You should.
So, okay, let's take me back.
Okay.
Who was little Q?
Okay, so definitely not who. Okay, well, maybe a little bit of who is sitting here in front of you. Interestingly enough, so yes, I'm from Texas, Dallas. And this whole thing started for me. It was so funny. Mr. Bede's a fetish shop did an interview with me a couple months ago before the holidays, and they were talking about fetishes specifically. So in particular, I'm wearing leather. So yes, that's kind of I think my biggest fetish, I would say, as far as that's concerned. Amongst
is
other
leather?
Things. Yeah, as far as the look, the feel, the smell, that kind of thing. Obviously, you have rubber, you have bondage, all this other stuff that goes in there. I think, but this was like my entry point. So what happened was, one Christmas, my mother and I had bought my dad a leather jacket for Christmas. Nothing, right? Well, anyway, there's this coat closet in our house. So right when you come in the door, we put in this coat closet. And there was nothing else in the coat closet. It was just this jacket, had a plastic bag around it. And one day, and we just left it there because it was obviously before Christmas. So a few weeks later, I go into the closet. I don't know what I had to get. And I get something, I was like, what is that smell? It was like, because the whole closet smelled exactly like this leather jacket. And I was like,
I like it.
Yeah, and I was like, I like this. And I was like, and I got aroused. Like, I didn't know what the hell was going on. I was like, what? So, like, I got the jacket and I was like, oh. And like something started happening. Then I was like, okay, this is weird. So I closed the door. I mean, come on, think about it. You know, like I had to be like, okay, 13, 14, something like this. So, aware enough of sort of sexuality, but not anywhere near where we are, especially in Berlin, but not, at the beginning. So over the course of time, I then of course this is, I don't want to date myself, but pre sort of really internet.
Yeah.
And then of course, as time goes, so it's high school, there's college, things begin to progress. I start, you can Google it. Oh, there's people that are, this is okay. So, it progressed, but that's kind of how the whole thing started, at least in the beginning.
Wow. Were you out then?
So, we were just talking about this, so it's kind of funny, right?
Yeah.
So I guess when you're into sort of fetish, BDSM, the scene, there's sort of 2 outs.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was out, but I wasn't out. So, yeah, my parents knew I was gay when I was 16. And they were actually really, really accepting of that. So That was kind of cool. So then I think that kind of led the road. So for easier things, I don't know if they know about this, but they're not. Are
they open people generally?
I would say
for being Texas.
Yes, I would say my dad probably more than my mother, if that's kind of ironic, right? But yeah, I would say I'm trying to think. What would my mother say if she saw this? She'd probably be like, I don't know. That's a good point. She might be. I don't know. It's funny. I never thought about that. But definitely like accepting. But I'm trying to think. What would she say? Would she be curious, or would she say? Excuse me, the champagne. She'd probably say like, okay, that's good for you or something like that. There's no telling. But yeah.
Yeah. But how did you then move to Berlin, and why did you move to Berlin?
Okay, so again, it's like the out and the out. So if we were at some sort of business meeting, I would say, oh, you know what? Berlin is just an amazing place. It's full of like, great people. It's really diverse. It's a tech hub. There's a lot of interesting things going on. And that's what I tell sort of some people. And then the other people, it really is like, I moved here for the sex. Like, I'm just gonna I knew that sort of the sex life that I wanted to live and that I fantasized about, I guess if that's the word, was here. So I'd been here like 10 times before I moved. So I kind of would come twice a year or sometimes even more. And I had experience and I had fun and it kind of, and if you think about it, Berlin has about the same reputation it does today as it did in the 20s. If you look at like cabaret and all those things where this was always like the Sin City, I guess, if you will, of Europe, which I think hasn't changed much. But yeah,
What clubs did you go to then?
Probably the same ones that everybody. So, there was, let's see. Of course, there was Bergheim. Of course, there was Kit Kat. Herrenzana was Herrenzana, but it was at a tiny place in our country. It wasn't at Tresor then. It used to be a party called Members that I used to absolutely love. It was obviously Snacks, which is a big deal, even though I don't go much anymore. Maybe this year I'll go. I'm thinking about it. Where else? I'm trying to think, was Torture Garden there or Club Verboten there? Or so many new things have kind of popped up. But yeah.
It's hard to maybe keep track
exactly.
also.
Exactly.
But could you sense the shift? Like, this is something else?
Yeah, so for me, it was always real in Berlin. So when you come from the States, so, there's certain things you can go, like you can go to San Francisco, which is a little bit kinky. Sometimes they have like Folsom and there's a couple other parties and there's like a fetish ball that happens in Los Angeles. But to me, it was always like the Hollywood version of fetish. So it was like beautiful people and beautiful costumes, but it was a little bit more like Eyes Wide Shut, I guess.
Oh, it's only accessible to beautiful people.
No, not from the accessibility standpoint, but just sort of it wasn't really real. It was like people who were dressing up for this night, and this is my opinion, so I think I have to say that. And it's like they would go and they would like pretend to be
a show.
Exactly, that's exactly what it was. It was a show, and I think because it was a show, I think the thing that I noticed most about Berlin was that it just seemed authentic. It seemed like these people were here and that they wanted, they were wanting this. Like, and it never ceases to amaze me the way that people in Berlin ask for what they want, men and women. It's interesting that way. And I think I don't know of another city
Sooner or later.
Sooner or later. And I don't know of another city where people are like this, though. So I think that makes it real, or makes the scene real.
So were you always... Like you were speaking about the time when you opened the wardrobe and you got the smell of leather, but were you always feeling that you had a dominant side? Yes,
always. Now this is something that's interesting. So if you think even back to like the playground, right? So, if you think about like all the little kids, going to play, I was like, hey, you do this. You're going to be this. Like I was always assigning the roles,
I'm going to demand you.
Yeah. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to do this and you're going to do this because I said do this. So it's my personality. It really is always. And so I didn't necessarily know it was sort of a dom sub scenario, or I didn't know that it was necessarily a pleasure derivative, if that makes sense. But I've always been that person. And I'm still a little bit that person in and out of the scene. So I'm always like, no, you do this. And, I'm trying to be a little bit not in the scene, a little bit less demanding, if you will. But I think it's one of those roles. And even now, when I look at Instagram or social media and I meet younger guys or girls from everywhere, it seems like they have developed this quite early. Yeah, it's quite young that they have decided which role they go into.
But how did you then first start to like play with it?
So I have a husband.
Since how many years?
6 years. And it was him. So
Wow.
yeah. So we, funny enough, the very first night I moved into my apartment here in Berlin, I met him. So we were out, or I was out, and I walked into this little fetish bar. And
I love that little fetish
well,
bar.
it was a little fetish bar. Well, okay. If I tell you the whole story, which might be a bit long, but I'll try to get through it quickly. I was at one bar, and it was dead, and it was like naked night. And obviously, if I'm wearing leather, like I like to see other people in fetish, whether it's latex or so. I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, but I'm here. And it's like, okay. So about like an hour into it, I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I gotta go. So I'm leaving. So I walk over to another fetish bar. And as I'm walking, this guy walks in front of me. And he walks in front of me. He had tight leather jeans on. He had a black hoodie, but the hood was up. So I didn't see his face. I just sort of felt him as I was walking. And he crossed the street, like right, in front of me. And then I was like, oh, I wonder if he's going where I'm going. So I was like, hopefully. So he was walking fast. So I was like, okay, I walk a little faster. So I sped up. And so my idea was, I said, well, as you get closer to the door, you have to ring a buzzer. So I said, well, when he opens the door, obviously your natural instinct is to look back. So he'll look back. And when he does, I'll see, his face. So the game plan worked. And I was like, fuck. I was like, okay, he's good looking. I was like, okay. So, of course, he, I guess, knew the people there. So there was like a small line, like maybe 3 or 4 people to pay and get in. So he just went right in. So me, I was like, oh, no, you're not getting in. So I kind of hopped out the line. I was like, hey, what are you drinking? I was like, stay right here. I'll buy you a drink. Just think about what you're having. Let me pay for what pay and then I'll, and the rest is kind of history.
What if he wouldn't have worn leather pants? Imagine. That's nice.
It's something about him that it was it was the whole package, but his aura, he could have plus or minus the leather pants at that point, but it was just sort of his aura that I was like, okay. And back to your earlier question, at the time, he said, we had a good time, we were hanging out, and he was like, well, I'm looking for a master. I was like, okay. And I was like, well, in my head, I'd had this rule. And I said, I'm moving to Berlin, and you don't move to a new city with old habits or an old attitude. So
I love that.
Well, you shouldn't do anything.
To discover something about
absolutely.
yourself.
But even when traveling, you should never do the same. So I said, I don't remember. It was this crazy movie, and I don't remember the type, where he said yes to everything. So that was sort of my idea. Nothing dangerous or anything like that, because I know some people could say that, okay, but within reason. So when he said it, I had to think about it, and I said, okay, because I didn't really have the experience. I'd sort of fantasized about it. Yes, I'd been sort of dominant with people with hookups or sort of a little bit S&M relationships, but nothing on a sort of a full-time basis. And remember, I'm now in Berlin where everything is real. So I'm coming from like a make-believe kind of fantasy world and again, we talked about people asking for what they want. So I was like, fuck, can I live up to it? Can I do it? I was like, fuck yeah, you can do it. So I was like, okay, let's do it.
Yes, it could be intimidating.
It could be. It could, and especially him, because he was so confident about what he wanted at the time. And
a confident sub.
Completely. And good looking. Now, there's not to say that I hadn't been asked this question many times before. And definitely, it goes in the variety. But for me, and I'd never been asked of someone that I was actually interested in, if that makes sense. So when you're interested in the person, it changes the dynamic a little bit. You're like, okay. So I said, yeah. So basically, we did, and we lived a complete sort of S&M relationship for 6 months. So for 6 months, there was a protocol in place every time he visited, or it was certain things and certain rules, and all was engaged. And then after 6 months, we'll get to that, I was tired. I just was like, I wasn't so tired of it. I was like, okay, I'm ready just for a new experience, which this theme repeats later. We'll come back to that. And so I kind of called it off. And then ironically enough, we didn't talk for about 3 months, maybe more or less. Could be a little less. So one day I'm I'm having dinner with my best friend, and he's like, "Yeah, where is he?" And I said, "I don't know." I said, "I haven't talked to him in a while." He said, "Well, you like him, so why don't you call him?" And I said, "Yeah, but we kind of had a thing, and yeah, So I had a few margaritas at the time. So he was like, "Call him." So anyway, I said, "Okay, fuck it, why not?" So I called him. So I still to this day we laugh about this because I don't know how he happened to be in the area where we were having dinner, and he shows up like 10 minutes later, and I was like, "Okay." And we're having drinks. And he says, "Wait, you two have the hot seat, so why don't you just admit it? You just like each other." And so then kind of like in a dramatic kind of crescendo moment, we go kind of like, "Oh yeah, we kind of are interested in each other." And then of course we decided to sort of have a relationship. Then it failed, and I'll explain. So in our heads, we had a complete sort of dom-sub relationship. And now we were partaking on a relationship. Can I say normal? Is that a good word? A normal, hetero or homonormative relationship. So I'll never forget. So we go to see a movie, and we like hold hands in the movie theater, and we like touch each other, and we get home, and it's the worst sex we've ever had. And then the next day we like go to brunch, and we're trying to like sit there, and it's like worst sex. And he's like, on Sunday, he's like, "You want to go to Bergheim?" I was like, "Actually, yeah." And it's like, it was so funny because in those 2 days that we tried to fit ourselves into what we thought was supposed to be this normal, it completely failed, which is kind of ironic. And
you were playing a role you were not.
Correct. We were both playing like some made up make-believe role that you're supposed to have going into a relationship, which I think a lot of people do, ironically enough. So. But it happened to us. And then, of course, we went to Bergheim, we were dancing, and then we like let our hair down, and then we're like, why did we do that other stuff? It's like, that's not who we are. But yeah, so case in point.
And then from there, your roles evolved?
Correct. And it was interesting. It's a rocky road for then, because at that point, you go from dating someone who is, by choice, a submissive. And there's a sort of one-way flow of information, communication, sexuality, all this kind of stuff, to a point where you want more of a balance of a 50-50. And so it's a little bit, jarring at first, but it lasted, after a few months, it was pretty normal, I think, in that respect.
What is normal?
Okay, good point. So I would say normal is just that that was something I would say relegated to sort of sex and sex fantasies and not necessarily everyday life.
Okay. But today, would you say it's 24/7?
Oh, no. No. But, so so evolution. We do have 2 submissives now.
You have them. Both of you have them.
Both of us have them. Yes, they're shit. Yeah. So one is pseudo 24/7, and the reason I say pseudo because he doesn't live with us, although he only lives 6 buildings down on the same street. Yeah, exactly. So it is perfect. And then the other one lives away completely, and so he comes in a few weekends, a year, a few months, and yeah. So that's how that kind of.
How does that look like? Like, how does it work? A normal day. Or a weekend. Normal weekend.
Yes. Okay. Because this is what I was saying. I think for us, the thing is, because in real, we both have full-time jobs that have nothing to do with sort of S&M, dominant sex or anything, just kind of regular jobs. And I think for us, we're both so sort of work motivated that it's kind of hard. It's hard for 24/7 because by the time you do your normal shit, okay, you eat, you gym, you work, you home, dinner, like
go shopping, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's like what's left after that. So I think for us it tends to work better sort of that Thursday night, Friday till Sunday kind of thing, because then you can have a little bit more time to think it through and think about it, and they're hard work. Submissives are
this you mentioned, I want to know.
Yeah, yes.
Because you think like some people say that it makes life easier. Like they can do the grocery shopping, they can clean the house, they can. But I want to hear what's the beside beside all this.
Correct. So it's I'm trying to think and I thought about this, but I'm trying to think what's the best way to say it. It seems easier at first. So let me explain. So let's say you have a choice, right? You can do the dishes, or you say, no, I'm going to have the submissive do the dishes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, if you do the dishes, you would do the dishes, turn off the kitchen light and go to bed. You don't think about it.
Yeah.
If the submissive does the dishes, because there's certain protocols in place, so he's already defined, so what he's wearing is already decided, how he looks is already decided, what's already decided, then what if he messes up? So then you need to think of a punishment. But it has to be a punishment that's actually a punishment, because certain punishments they actually like. So it can't be spanking because they like this. So this can't be a punishment. It can't be bondage because they like this. So it has to be a real punishment. So not only do you have to be thinking like, okay, well, is he going to do a good job? Is he not going to do a good job? If he doesn't do a good job, what? Because everything is based on these protocols. So if something happens and you don't correct it, then they think they got away with it, which then diminishes the authority in the relationship. So you see, everything's like, you have to have everything really, really, really thought through. So that's why it makes it a little bit more challenging.
And you can maybe not do the same punishment every time.
No.
All right.
So I thought about this. So I was thinking how would on the way here I was kind of had this funny idea, and I said, okay, you could say, okay, submissive, write down 10 punishments that go in order of like severity from like 1 to 10, put them on individual postcards, then send them to me. Let me pick the one that I get. But even then, it would take mental power for you to think that, say it, have it written, go through, sit there, organize, decide which one. But yeah, it's just the extra, because most submissives, their whole role in being a submissive is sort of there to sort of be told to, and it's there for your pleasure, but it's also their pleasure. So it's like this two-way street. Pleasures derive from like different ends of the spectrum. But yeah, so that's why I said it's a little bit more complex than that.
Okay, but if you let me know what the pleasure, because you do have 2 subs
Correct
right now. So
Correct.
what is the pro side of it?
Ooh.
I can't believe this is a hard question.
Well, yeah, let me think. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are pro sides. So
they're gonna watch this.
I know. So I'm like thinking about everyone's gonna watch this and like, damn, what is he like expecting? No. So don't get me wrong. So all the sort of here's the hearing with this word normal again, but the expected sort of, so any sort of sexual behavior, any sort of like cleaning behavior, all those things are sort of there. But what I think most people don't realize is there's like a lot of like back work and underwork and homework. So it's two-way street, right? So if you're submissive and you have a dom and every time he's giving you the same things and you're doing the same things, then you're going to get bored, and pretty soon you're going to be like,
what is this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to say you have a submissive. It's one thing to, if you have 2 sort of happy long-term submissive, because, it's effort and work put in both situations. Now, to argue this point, I'm sure any submissive would sit here and say, yes, but it's more work, and I get that. And it could be more physical work. I definitely think it is. It's in that respect, of course. But I think we or at least me, as being more of a dominant, has more mental work to do in that respect to keep the sub interest, because you're driving everything. So if you want to go out for the weekend, then you're telling him what to wear. You're telling him what time to be there. You're telling him what haircut to have. You're telling him what the protocol is. You're
so much work.
Yeah. So
they ask you what haircut they're gonna have
if they're good. Yeah.
Oh, if they're good. So you want to
because at the end of the day, it's that's the whole dynamic of it. So it's like
lot.
Yeah. So
it's like having a baby.
I didn't want to use that analogy. I thought about this. I did think about that, but I don't have kids, but I would assume it's a little bit like that. Like I have friends with them and I see what they go through, but yeah, yes and no. In the responsibility, yes.
I have friends with them.
With them, yeah. Because no children for me.
No.
No. My husband used to want children, and I kind of came around to the idea. And just as I was getting around to the idea, he was like, "No, I don't think that's me anymore." I was like, "Fuck yeah."
Yes, no need to force anything then. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Or like, it's also like refreshing with people who choose to not have children. That's also part of why I like Berlin, because there's not the pressure.
Correct.
Of it.
Correct.
Because there is such a pressure.
Although I do have a friend who has a child and one on the way, and they still go to Bergheim. I mean,
yes, they are amazing. No, they are amazing
and I'm always
families.
joking about no
like,
kindergartens at Bergheim.
Have fun, enjoy, and I really admire. But it's definitely that's something you see here.
100%.
In the hometown.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No. That's a whole nother entity.
So feeling like having children here, it feels more appealing, I guess.
Yeah, I guess if I had to, yeah.
If it was between your husband and like
100%.
Exactly.
Or if like I was the last means for the human race to go forward.
Yeah. Well,
and I'm not even sure that they should, it's like one of those things like, yeah.
But can I ask, because it feels like you are a playful couple.
Yeah.
And do you guys then go out, the four of you? Like we let's go back to the how does a normal weekend look like? Because I just want to picture it.
Should I give you a little?
Oh yeah. Let's have a little pre.
We might as well, right? Oh shit, yeah, good.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, so yes, the four of us. This has happened on a normal weekend. So, for instance, do you know Whole Festival?
Yeah.
Okay, so we went, all four of us.
Oh wow.
To Whole Festival. Yeah. That was so. Anyway, okay, so back to your question.
Okay, let's go back to normal. But first, how was the four of you? Was there any drama, or was it smooth and fun and just like easy peasy?
Completely.
So it's better to have the subs in official areas than home.
Yes, and I have one additional for you. Each sub has a boyfriend, which is also important.
They didn't come.
No.
Maybe it would have been more fun with.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, my husband actually is the one who kind of had this idea, and I actually now I co-sign on it. When they're with us, and I think it's this. I've sort of found this to be true of most S&M dynamics. They're coming to you for one thing, a thing, and for some reason, it's a thing that they can't get from their partner. But you find this a lot, even in hetero sort of dom sub relationships, like or in movies, you often see this. It's like something that they can't get at home per se. So my partner and I, or my husband and I, should I say, really do sort of protect our own intimacy. So we still have this. This is fun for us. It's playful. As this is some like a exploration for us. This is some people play Sony PlayStation. We go out and play this. But it's interesting because that way when they're with us for this particular thing. So we're not there for emotional support. We're not there for cuddling. We're not there to talk about how they are after work. We're not there to talk about their promotion or their jobs. We're not there to talk about family, all that. That goes with their partners. So it's a clear division, which I think has really helped. So I think going forward, I don't want any more submissives at this point. But I think
because you are tired.
I am. But I think I would never. Not never. But I think I like the fact. I don't know if they were single, if it would go so smoothly.
Mm-hmm. More work if they're single. Then they expect it all from you.
Correct. And it's not something that you can provide.
Okay. We go back to Thursday evening.
Okay.
The subs arrive.
Yes. So
one only 6 blocks away, and one travels.
Correct. So this has happened numerous times. So what usually happens is we usually pick the one up at the airport, and usually, Berlin has several S&M apartments that you can rent for the weekend, which we have done this sometimes, and sometimes it's at our house. We have quite an extensive setup. So basically, we pick him up at the airport, and from that moment, he knows like exactly the roles and responsibility. And then it can range. So there have been times when we've picked him up at the airport. We go home. There's protocols. There's fun. It's all this. And then we will go out to bars or fetish clubs. And they have to go. Like one time we actually went to Cocktail de More. And they were wearing collars. And I had them all on leashes. And
the 3 of them.
The 2 of them.
The 2 of them. So not your husband.
Not the husband. No, at this point, he's more on my side.
Okay.
Yeah. No, he can be sometimes. But no, I think he's grown out of it.
Oh, okay.
He's switched now. So which is but that's him. He's a shapeshifter. He's always going. But yeah, and so we had them all on leashes, and we walked in, and that's kind of how they were the whole night, with them on leashes, and they couldn't go too far. And then of course, people always ask, "Oh, well, can I do this?" Yeah, if we feel like it, you can do this, or take them to that, or yeah. So it's just kind of fun in that respect.
So fun. What club? Cocktail de More.
Yeah, well, this was at Grease Mueller.
The old one.
The old one, which is it's not
so sweet.
Yeah. I miss that place, but yeah.
Rest in peace.
But yeah, so from there, of course, then we're home together. Now, for us, we have a hierarchy in that. So the slave that comes in is an alpha sub over the one that lives here. So there's sort of a hierarchy of command there, which helps. So, yeah.
Okay. But then when you come back from the club.
Yes.
Because at the club, it's pretty obvious. It's fun. It's
correct. It's very playful. It's a little bit show,
exactly. And it's like building up the sexual energies.
Yes.
And then when you come home,
that's when all hell breaks loose. I mean, how graphic? I mean, if you can think of it, it probably has happened at a certain point. But I think just sort of the general. My husband and I are sort of a team. If you kind of we tag team, you can tap in, tap out. I mean, there has been times when I've had to tap and say, guys, I'm going to bed, and then I'll go take a nap, and I wake up and they're all still in the playroom, there. And I'm like, okay, I'm back.
Oh, wow. So, and he's like, now it's my turn. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or yeah, exactly. Or he can continue or not continue, or yeah. No.
All right.
But that, but with that being said,
yeah. No, I'm thinking more so because at some point you will get a little bit tired, a little bit hungry.
Yes.
I'm just interested in those dynamics too.
Okay.
Does one of them just go shop for breakfast, plan
So yes, but all of this is pre-planned.
Ah, that's smart.
Yeah, you have.
That's a life hack, no?
Yeah, but come on, you can't.
Do you have a schedule?
Yeah, because think about it. You can't be dressed all in this and it's 3:30 on Saturday. We got to go to the Lidl or to Rava, before and you're full. Yeah, no, you could, but no. So it's kind of all pre-planned. So of course the sub that lives here is responsible for sort of all preparations, getting everything prepared. There's no schedule, sort of what time we eat or whatever, but it's his responsibility to make sure that there's plenty of food, there's Gatorade, there's bananas, there's all the kind of fun stuff that you would need. And then of course,
the bananas, the fun stuff.
Yeah, well, the juice, the muffins, the croissants. No one's eating full,
no,
chicken
you're in party mood.
100%. So I think and with that, so it's sort of his responsibility in that respect. And then, of course, then the alpha will come in. And then, of course, if we're hungry, then the alpha will make sure that everything's prepared and everything's done. But, of course, there's that playful element, right? So, of course, I think the interesting thing, there's nothing that's really ever cut and dry. So it's not okay, sub, go cook my meal. So let me just walk you through a specific day, right? Or a protocol, is it's called. So protocol is very important in the Dom sub relationship. And basically what this means is this is just a sort of certain behaviors or rules around behavior that dictate your interaction. So for instance, the submissive that lives on the same street from us, anytime that he comes to our place, he has to have a rubber jock. He has to have
what
his
rubber
jock strap. So and then he wears a cock cage.
Yeah.
So that's
this is very interesting.
Right, because that's for him. That's very important. So he really wears it.
Chastity.
Yeah, chastity. Exactly, male chastity. Yep.
Chastity.
And so we have the key. Obviously, when he travels for work, he can have the key to take it off. But he's so into it that he usually will have the key, take it off to go to security, and then put it right back on to get to continue.
But he doesn't wear it in his other relationship. That he's owned by you.
The reason I'm pausing is because I do believe in the beginning he did.
Oh.
And this annoyed the boyfriend.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So that's why I had to think about that for a second. I was like, wait a minute. I think, and I think because he and the boyfriend don't live together. So I think the rule is, and I think he worked the rule out with the husband, but I think the rule is that anytime his boyfriend is present, his boyfriend takes precedent, which should. So then he should diminish all these protocols. But
can you tell me a little bit more about chastity and chastity play?
Yes.
Because this is actually something people have been requesting.
Oh, really? So, okay. So basically, I guess because there's female chastity and male chastity. But basically, he is not allowed to use his penis for any sort of sexual pleasure because the cock cage. Correct. So the cock cage, obviously it allows you to go to the bathroom and do that, and wash, But other than that, that's about it. Because if you get hard, it hurts. So
it can be spikes also.
It can be. It does not have spikes. Yeah, that's a whole other. Oh, I think. Okay, we know if you had someone wearing a cock cage, I should let him know that. Actually,
I've only seen. I haven't tried.
Okay. But it basically because it constricts. There's actually sort of levels to you can do it. So there's some that are literally just sort of the cage itself. Then you can get smaller cages so that obviously it kind of goes, and then there's actually an inverted that actually pushes it in so that it's kind of not even there. That's a bit extreme, but they are sort of these levels of this sort of chastity.
It's in.
So it just pushes it in. So it's not really.
So it's like.
Yeah, like squeezed way in there.
And that must hurt, yeah.
Not when it's soft.
No.
So when it's soft, it's like it's just hanging there. So yeah, it's just like if the person were to get hard. But the idea behind this is that you not only control sort of the person, but you're controlling the inner core, so the thoughts of the person. So the person is only allowed to have an erection or an ejaculation when you say so. The person's not actually even allowed to get pleasure from that area. So basically, some in this particular sub, he sometimes wants to come, but basically you use it as a sort of a programming mechanism to say, and it kind of, it does. So even as human beings, all of a sudden, if you I don't know if you're left-handed or right-handed, but let's say whichever one you are, if you tie that hand behind your back for several years and you made yourself learn to write with the other hand, it is possible. So it's just sort of turning
forcing to control the mind.
Yes, and forcing to control that section of your sexuality. Because obviously we know with the human body, there's erogenous zones in many ways to get sexual pleasure, not only from the vagina or the actual penis. So this is sort of a teaching of the submissive that you can derive sexual pleasure of other places of your body that I see fit. But it's also a good tool because it's a training apparatus. So if you do really good and you do everything to my liking and I'm in a good mood, then you might be able to come.
And that's the nirvana.
Yes. I hate to say yes because there's sort of spectrums of it. So this particular sub, yes, his thing is control. He loves to be controlled. So we have cameras in his flat.
In his flat?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And so at any time...
This is a 24/7
yes.
game.
Yes, but virtually. virtually.
okay,
So
true.
at any moment, we can say, okay, what are you doing? And we can look and, okay, we can see he's going from the bedroom or he's in the kitchen. So there's 3. There's a kitchen and there's a living room. We do not put one in the bedroom because that's for him and the boyfriend. And they're not on when the boyfriend's there. So he covers them up and he knows. So it's like they're small. So you just put like a little cup over them and that's that.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's so that's what I'm saying. So 24/7 is sort of hard.
Yeah, it is.
You get what I'm saying? So I was actually thinking about that. And when you said, I was like, think of one thing that we do 24/7.
Yeah, nothing.
Breathe.
True.
but on that, there's really, so it's really difficult. And I always see, on social media online that there's people that have that, and maybe for their life they can. Like, I can't imagine. Like, I have a lot of friends, both in the BDSM fetish world and not, that they can. This is an escape. So most of the people that I know don't want this 24/7 because then it becomes the norm. Because at the end of the day, this is something you can refuge into. This is an escape. It's a game to be played.
Yeah.
And you can have your favorite toy in the world and you play with it every day. Pretty soon,
it's not fun anymore.
Pretty soon, it's gonna lose its.
So the chastity, for example, is not something he has at work.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but he enjoys it 24/7.
24/7.
Okay.
24/7. So there's even ways. Well, I guess we can talk about this. There's even ways that he can come with it on.
That he figured out, or that everyone knows?
That's a good question. Well, most people who are into chastity know. So basically, it's a vibrator. So if
the chastity is vibrating?
No. So the chastity is a cage, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So if you hold it against the chastity, and eventually you will have a jack. So there are times when the submissive is like, oh, master's like, I cannot come, and we don't have time. And it's, oh, well, can I use the vibrator? It's okay, yes. For this time, you have permission to use the vibrator too.
And what kind of vibrator is it?
Actually, the magic wand. It works the best.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, you know the magic wand exactly, and it has attachments, but you don't need the attachment. It's just literally like, if you think about it, if you hold it against this bottle, it's gonna hit it really fast, and of course that stimulation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. This is so interesting. But this is only one of your subs who is wearing this.
Correct. The other one is so submissives are I mean, at the end of the day, people like have certain it's no blanket, So the other submissive is much more into being used. As an object, or
all
like
right.
a sex object, or he loves being told what to do, how to do, who to do, all for the pleasure of the master. But he himself wants to be used, and not necessarily abused, but just yet, like he's here for your enjoyment.
So you said who also. So does he enjoy you telling him, for example, when you're out at a club, you are gonna do this person then?
Absolutely.
And he doesn't know who it's gonna be.
He loves it.
Oh yeah?
He absolutely loves it. He sometimes he can't even see them.
He is blindfolded.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll have a mask on him and I'll just have him there, and somebody say, hey, you want? Yeah, okay, go for it.
Okay. I'm thinking immediately, this is such a weird thing to think about, I guess, but that there is so much, like, also on the psychological side of this.
I would say, before you even finish, 90% is psychological.
Yeah, but beside that, I'm also thinking, because there is so much also shame and guilt when it comes to sex, this part of it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wow. I mean, I don't know how much male people feel when it comes to this slut shaming part of it, but it's definitely something I started to think about recently again.
Really?
Yeah, that I was like, oh wow, I wonder if I still have something of that inside of me, where I feel like,
I'm laughing because the submissive that we're talking about has no. When he sees this, he's gonna like take he's gonna
Pride.
stand proud. Like he has no shame when it comes to
I
this,
love that.
which is what makes him like go for it.
Okay.
Like, yeah, and don't get me wrong, because you know when he has been thoroughly used and like completely, then he gets sent home to his lover, which we talk, say, you know, he's fine, you know, we did, because it's very secure.
That's so nice.
I was gonna say that.
That's so
Absolutely.
nice.
So when he arrives, like we always text the partner, like, yep, he's here, you know, he's having a good time and blah, blah, blah. Because for him to text the partner, which he does sometimes, but it takes him out of the fantasy.
Exactly.
So he trusts us enough, and that we care about him enough that we will just keep the partner updated. So, yep, he's doing good. He was just eating, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, he can text him or something and talk now. But yeah, it's just so that the partner knows that everything's fine. And like, he's like, yeah, just send him home when he's, you know, and his partner, you know, he likes it. It's interesting that this fact, because yesterday, my husband and I were both watching some new series on Netflix. And I have no idea what it's called, but it was about sexism. And it's a Spanish series that, funny enough, because we have the English titles in Netflix. And it poses the question about like open relationships and how...
In Netflix?
On Netflix.
What's the name you said? Whatever.
I
Very
can't...
interesting.
It's something about sexism or some... I'll have to admit, I will text you when I'm home, so you can. Okay. But anyway, it was just talking about that, and it was interesting because in that there's a lady who's basically, it's kind of a joke. So this man is gonna ask her to marry him, and the same night he has like the ring like in a little piece of like cake, and he's like waiting for it, and she's like, yes. She's like, well, I'm glad you wanted to talk. She's like, I think we should have an open relationship, and he like chokes up.
Where did this come
Yeah,
from?
he's like, yeah. She's like, I think we should go out and we should have as much sex with this. And he's like, but. And it was so funny because it's sort of like what you were talking about. It's this opposite now that has come into. So I don't know if slut shaming. Yeah, I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, because it's definitely something that I know as a teenager I fought.
Oh God, we all
with.
did.
Yeah, did you also do?
We all did.
Yeah.
Even, I mean, there are times even when I had first moved to Berlin that I was like, okay, this is a bit much.
Yeah.
And then I would meet people and I was like, I'm doing nothing. So, you know, because in Berlin, there's always like this thing, even if you think you're like here, there's always people who are like, you know, steps ahead. But
steps ahead.
Yeah, always.
That's definitely it.
Yeah.
If you want to feel mellow.
At any point, right, in Berlin, you can feel mellow. But I don't know. I think that the new generation, or, you know, people now, I don't think they have this anymore.
I hope so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I hope so.
I really think that the majority of, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And some, you know, we're in big cities. So if you're in a small town and okay.
Yeah, of course.
But
yeah.
I think the majority of people, like-minded people that live in a metropolitan area, no, I think this doesn't exist anymore.
Blessed be.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Let me see where I'm at. I feel so nurtured by this conversation.
Really?
Yes, I love
Okay,
it.
okay.
This is what I live for.
Okay.
This is true. I feel life force.
Well, good. Well, it's interesting because I love having these conversations, and I don't get to, like I said, I don't have the. I mean, I've never sat with a microphone and a camera.
You do it so naturally.
Oh, okay.
It's like you were born a movie star.
Oh, please.
It's true. Okay, what am I gonna ask next? Yes, can you take me through the kind of BDSM scene and play scene in Berlin, and how you believe that differs to other cities?
Okay.
Do you always feel safe, for example?
Okay, I have a very funny story about that. So the question is, yes, I did, and I still do. However, last year, like midsummer, I was at Gagan. True fact. It was at RSO.
Last summer, yeah.
Yeah, last summer. And I'm there with all my friends, and I'm having a good time because it was kind of like it was the first time at RSO, and it was just our first party in a while. And so I was gung-ho. I was like super excited to be there. And I'm there with all our friends, and it's late now. So don't get me wrong, it's probably 9. Okay, that's probably not late by Berlin standards, right? I know you're laughing at me.
No,
okay,
not
right.
laughing.
No.
I laugh at that it's not late.
Yeah, exactly.
No, for me, I'm like, I'm mellow.
Yeah, so it's 9 a.m. And so I'm sitting, so I was there with about maybe 10 people. And everyone had left, essentially, except for me and our friend Chris. Who, because of this story, I'm just going to say is hetero. I don't know if he likes that word, but hetero flexible in that respect. Okay. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden we're like totally sitting there. We're just sitting there. We're like drinking. And all of a sudden security comes up. He says, hey, you two, you got to go. And I'm thinking he's joking. I'm like, me? He's like, yeah, you two, you have to leave the club. And I'm like, what? I don't understand. Like,
it's
I'm
not
like,
closed yet.
Right. I'm like, the party's not over. It's not closed. He's like, no, it's like, you got to come with us. You got to come with us. So anyway, I was like, okay. And, music's loud, so I couldn't really hear. So I was like, okay, so we'll go with you. So we get to the front, and I see a friend. I'm like talking to the friend. He's like, no, you got to go down. I'm like, wait. Like, hold. This isn't going like this. He's like, no, you have to go down. I said, first. So then I'm switching now because then I got very sort of aggressive about it. So then I go to the front. And a friend of mine who works there, she's like, yeah, what's going on? And I was like, I have no clue. She's like, wait here. So I'm like, okay. So they come back, and they were talking for a second. And so she comes back, she goes, so here's the situation. She was like, some guy said that you touched them inappropriately. And I was like, what? And she was like, yes. So I was like, okay. I was like, well, where's the guy? She was like, well, because of like, the zero tolerance, we can't show you the guy. And, because of this zero tolerance rule, we have to ask you to leave. And she was like heartbroken because I know her and she knows me. And I was like, but this isn't true. And she's like, yeah, she goes, so she goes, okay, wait. So then she goes back and she was like talking. She's like, yes. She's like, well, apparently you were on this dance floor and you walked up and you grabbed his dick. Can you say dick? I guess you say dick. Yeah. I was like, do you know me? First of all, I'm never grabbing anybody's dick. I would grab an ass before I would grab a dick. But I'm not
3 subs.
Right. Thank you. And I'm like, what the fuck? And she's like, yeah. And so anyway, I left and it just sort of that stayed with me a little bit. Yeah. Because Gagan.
So you left, yeah.
So we left. We didn't.
Do you
we
have
didn't,
any haters? Who did this?
Well, so come to find out, so because I know the security guard, so we end up running into her at Whole Festival. Anyway, long story short, but apparently this guy had gone around and just picked random people that he was like, yeah, that guy touched me. And so finally I was like the third one. And then by the time he did again, the security had realized like, wait a minute, God, all these people can't be. So he was just in the club, some random, and I hate to say hetero because he was some random hetero, which is the, it's sort of sad because, Gagan is supposed to be this space for queer or open-minded individuals. And I get it. And I think it is for the most part. And by no means, I'm sure the people are going to listen to this podcast. I will go again. This can happen anywhere. But because of this sort of hetero guy had this vendetta against, and my friend actually said he did it to any guy who looked better than him, which I kind of took that as a compliment. Yeah. I mean, so it's like he wanted to get rid of all the competition, but I was like, dude, there's no competition.
But still, how pathetic.
Yeah. So then you asked me, do I feel safe? So it shook me a minute, actually. It's like, how am I like a gay man, like going into a place that I thought was for us, but yet I'm getting expelled because another guy says that I've done something. But then I asked myself the question. So if I were a girl and someone had touched me, then this zero tolerance policy should be in effect. Even if I was a guy. So there was actually a time that my husband and I were at Kit Kat and he was wearing chaps. So, they're open in the front and at the back. And this girl kept grabbing his ass. And he asked her once to stop. Tourist.
Yeah.
I know your face. He asked her again, stop. Third time, he just went and got security and they told her out. So again, it does work both ways, but I get it. But it was just the first time that I had ever felt unsafe in a space in Berlin. But yeah, interesting, right? But
Very
other than that, yes, I'm completely safe. It was so funny because ironically that night I met a girl, and I met the girl because I was with my friend and I was kind of flirting with her for him. So we exchanged Instagrams, and come to find out, she ended up asking me if I was looking for a female submissive. So it actually kind of came full circle. But I met her that night as I was being kicked out. But yeah, so I do think it's a safe space for everyone at the end of the day. This was just some random asshole who. So I think honestly, the BDSM scene, if you're new to the BDSM scene, Berlin is the best place for you. If you're professional, Berlin is the best place for you. And I'll break that down. So if you're new, Berlin has so many easy entry points. You can go out, and I'm just saying, we've talked about these parties, but you could go out to Kit Kat on a random night, or you could go to, a party, and you don't have to participate. You can watch, you can observe, you can talk to people, you can flirt. Obviously, there's levels to that. So there's other parties and there's other things that you could go to do. And if you're a professional or sort of pro, then I think there's even higher end events. So, there's Torture Garden, there's, Club Verboten, where you can even go and really sort of explore more in that. And I think Berlin is so good is that this female submissive that I talked about, she wrote me actually over the Christmas break that she had gone to Gagan. And that she was like, all I wanted was like a good flogging. And she was like, and I went, she's like, and me being German, she's like, I went. And I was like, and I was there at 2 exactly. He was like, only to be told that all the professionals ended at 2. So I couldn't get my flogging. So now I have to go into the new year unpunished. But basically, I thought that story was like true. So I think, it's you have to navigate it, but everything is here for you, which is, I think, what makes this, I like to call Berlin an island of misfit toys. I think everybody in Berlin is here for a reason. And I think whatever that reason is, you can find it, here. Whether it's a sexual reason, whether it's a playful reason, I think it exists here. And I think people are open and honest enough in Berlin to really do that. And I think they come here they might not come here with an open mind, but they come here hoping to find that place of open-mindedness. Okay, well, I do have a secret sort of fantasy. I think, you know how they have morning talk shows? So either on the radio, like when you get up in the morning, there's always that drive time. So there's people who are on from like 5 to like 9, this is Kiss FM, and or on television, they have like the morning talk show. So I do have a secret confession that after I got sort of older, I didn't realize that was a profession. Because had I think broadcast journalism, I would have loved to. I would have loved to be on the radio.
Yeah.
Because like I like that, and you don't have to see on television as well. But I like talking to people.
Yeah.
So.
No, let's do this again. We'll do
absolutely.
This again. We do next topic next time.
I would. Yeah. So no, I would say I would love to bring the slaves.
Let's do that.
I would love to.
We're doing it.
I would love to.
2023 now sometime whenever they're in town. We have now come to the part of the podcast where if you're a Patreon, you'll get to listen to the extra material where we speak about how Q got to start out women. Yes, you heard me right. This is a hella fun conversation, and if you're interested, go to patreon.com/playfulmagazine. This was it for Playful Podcast this week, but please follow, subscribe, and listen to our next episode. And if you want to have a say about future artists, or even ask your own question to one of our guests, follow us on Instagram and make sure to add your question when we lift our coming guests. Thank you so much for joining, and see you next week.